Yo, what's up YouTube? Lambo here with a new video. I know it's been a while, but I just felt like analyzing some Serral games, and that's exactly what we're here for today. I picked out the most interesting game for myself, and I want to analyze it from Serral's point of view. Serral currently is the best player in the world, and he's also the best Zerg player in the world. So I want to see what exactly does he do differently than the rest of us, because most other Zergs are struggling a little bit more than he seems to be, so I want to try and pick apart the games where he faced the most resistance, which wasn't in the grand finals against Mario, it was against Oliveira, and I remember specifically this game being very, very close. So I want to see what exactly it is that Serral does differently to win against Oliveira in this game in particular, in late game. This won't be a cast, so I'm not just gonna cast the game as if I would commentate it during the event itself. This will be more me skimming through the replay to find important bits of information and important things that I can copy, and maybe that is also interesting for you guys. And depending on how long this takes, I might also check another game that interests me as well afterwards from Serral. But I won't spoil too much, and let's first see how long exactly it will take me to go through this replay without missing too much, because this was a long one. Okay, so the opening is pretty classic. He just goes hatch, gas pool normally, and then takes the third hatch, delays gas mining, so he gets the third hatch before the overlord. On a couple of maps this is very safe. This is one of the maps where it is relatively safe to do. Lowering the music volume a little bit. Oh, this was a greedy creep tumor. Oliveira is going for it. He's barely not gonna get it. That was relatively greedy. Because the Reaper was high HP and the Zerglings weren't perfectly in position to cover it. But yeah, on this map basically you can defend 2x Reaper with this opener. You can defend your third hatch, that is. You can always defend 2x Reaper to some degree, but let's say you play hatch gas pool and you take your third hatch at 30 supply, your hatchery will die against the first 3 to 5 Reapers. And on a couple of maps, if you take your hatchery earlier, you can actually defend the hatchery, because it's so close to the natural. These maps would be Alcyone, Oceanborn, Golden Aura, and there's probably one more, but I can't think of it. Ghost River you certainly cannot. Side Delta you certainly cannot. Post Youth you cannot. On Amphion, I think you can defend it, but usually they also don't see it very, very early on, because they go straight to the natural since that one is so close by. And yeah, and Serral going for 320 Roachborn, so super early Roachborn, defensively, and no Zergling speed. So he cuts Zergling speed in order to do this, and he delays his queens a little bit. That's a purposeful non-inject here. I guess because he's going Roaches, he doesn't need it. Let's see, he's at 35 drones. He can't spend his Lyra right now anyways. Not building any extra units. He also has no scouting information whatsoever. This is the first time he sees the Hellions, so I think it's fair to assume that this is 3cc. It's also important to mention at this point that Oliveira has played a lot of custom games with Serral beforehand. They have been practice partners and they play a lot just in general. He gets the scouting info now. This is a pretty late scout. He checks the 3cc, sees it's Banshee, so he knows everything that he wanted to. And just pushes the creep. So instead of having his queens split 3 and 3, he has less queens than usual. He only has 6 queens. Usually you have 8 queens. So usually the way this is set up... I'm sorry that the music keeps interrupting. I just need to pause the replay to show you guys some stuff. Usually the setup would be 1 inject queen here, 1 inject queen here, then 3 queens over here to defend the Hellions, and then 3 queens over here to defend the Hellions from the other side. One of these 3 queens always goes back to inject. So you don't need a 9th queen. It's usually 6. It's usually 8 queens. And here, he's using only 6 queens, and he just uses the roaches on the side that he put his initial creep tumors on. So if he uses the roaches well, he won't need any extra creep tumors on that side. Also, interesting to notice that his overlord positioning is very passive. I don't know if Oliveira ever plays single Cyclone mix-ups, where he plays a normal opener, but he mixes in 1 Cyclone to kill some overlords, but Serral played very, very careful with his initial overlords, so he wouldn't lose any. So that's important to note. Just trying to maximize this early game, so that it always seems good in the end. He went for only 8 roaches and then he's going straight into +1 melee and +1 carapace. Actually lost 3 drones here and a queen. 5 drones overall. This is obviously not too bad, but I would personally not be happy with this if I was him. And he's going straight up to 88 drones. That's because he scouted the 4th command center. He's so good at scouting. Let's see what when he sent this overlord there. It was this overlord, so it was already forward a little bit. Now the music just gave up on me entirely. So he sends an overseer straight away, just rallying it in, and then he sees the 4th command center. He scouts it now, and now he starts the extra drones, right? So he was on 80 drones already with the infestation pit on the way. Baiting nest delayed. You don't really need the baiting nest early on if you play roaches. And now he starts 8 extra workers, so he's fully saturated. This, by the way, was very fortunate. This was not Serral being a magician, knowing that these aliens would run in. This is the downside, by the way, of not having any overlords here. If he has one overlord here, like if he has the overlords positioned a little more aggressively, he would have more time to react to this. He still didn't see it. Now he sees it for the first time. The roaches are completely out of position. And roaches are not fast, so they won't catch up with the Hellions. But because he goes back, he checks, he instantly moves back these drones so they wouldn't block the wall, and then makes the Evo chamber just in time with the drone that was there. Super clutch from Serral. I already know if I'm in this position in tournament, I see all my drones run here, I go back, I try to make an Evo chamber, the rest of the drones blocks the Evo chamber, I know that feeling. And then the rest of the drones, they just stand there like a bunch of idiots, and then they die to the Hellions get in, the Hellions do even more damage, so that was very, very good for Serral. And yeah, he got up straight to 90 drones, so he's keeping up with the greed, quote-unquote, of Oliveira. This is not really that greedy, as long as you get 3 Rex production early plus the siege tanks, and then eventually 5 Rex production relatively early. I don't think you are dead against anything, especially with benches. I don't think 1-1 Roach ever kills you. Like, you can see that he has enough units that he even feels confident in moving out. He also saw that it was Lingbane Ravager, not Roach Ravager into Lurker. So that's why you can see Oliveira already transitioning into Widow Mines. So out of his 2 factories, the one factory is consistently producing tanks, the other one constantly producing Widow Mines. This is something that is very good for camping. It's not very good for attacking, because you have 2 different units that you need to siege, makes it harder to attack. But if you just sit there and camp, it's very difficult for Zerg to engage into one of these positions. The last time, I swear, that I'm adjusting the sound. I was hesitant to adjust the sound at first, the sound effects especially, because I kind of want them to stay the same when I'm playing, but it brings me off the rhythm when I'm talking. Okay, so Oliveira has a very fast 4th. He has a very forward sensor tower there as well. Serral has done nothing offensive so far, which means he's confident in the later stages of the game. Oliveira must, by the way, also be relatively confident in the later stages of the game, because even though he's playing against Serral, he is playing for the late game. He's not trying to kill him in this game. He also did manage to kill Serral twice in this series with timing attacks, but he also felt confident enough to go for this type of game. And Serral, very important to note here, is that he is transitioning into Hydras. So he wants to play Hydra Bane Viper. He's even going into a Lurker then. So instead of transitioning into Ultras, like most people would do, he goes straight into the Hydralisk, because Ultras against straight camping are actually not that good. Ultras are good if your opponent attacks into you. Especially against tank timings, Ultras can work wonders, and they're a very natural transition from Lingbane Ravager. But if your opponent just sits there and does nothing, I think it's good by him to not go for Ultras. He's going straight for Hydras, and he's also going for a Nidus Worm. One thing that Serral came up with is that if you take offensive bases, so while he keeps poking here, this is his first attack actually, hold on for a second. He sees that 2 of these tanks were not sieged right away, the planetary is not done yet, so he picks this point in time to attack, kills 4 tanks I think overall. And then disengages, just loses Lingbane for it. We will keep track of the resource loss, this is the most important statistic in terms of late game TVZ. You want to not lose too much more than a Terran. You will usually always lose more than a Terran. The reason I'm saying usually is because Serral sometimes actually trades efficiently. And I also saw a GSL game between Su and Bian, where Bian potatoed a little bit and Su actually managed to trade efficiently. But it is very difficult to do so in general. He now wants to sack some of the roaches, he gets a sensor tower and then goes back. He still wants to lose those, really, realistically. For now, they fulfill the job of defending against a potential double medevac drop that runs towards the top right, but that's pretty much it. In a direct engagement, they would be rather useless. Let's get back to my initial point though. What you want to have, I'm gonna close this by the way, what you want to have happen as a Zerg is you want to mine your opponent's bases. So if you mine one of the bases on the other side, that means, and you still mine all of the bases on your side of the map, that means you now mine 2 bases more than your opponent. That's a significant difference in terms of resources mined, and that usually should carry you in the very, very ultra late game. Here he goes for the planetary, but barely doesn't get it. So that was unfortunate, but Oliveira was out of position here, which meant that the initial trade was not actually that bad. And here comes the Liberator harass. So I think at this point, when I was watching this, I felt like, okay, this position is actually quite good for Oliveira. I would feel very bad about this position against any Terran that is good in late game. And Oliveira is pretty good in late game. But yeah, your winning condition is, let's say, Serral mines out both of these bases, and the rest he mines out entirely. That's usually good enough for Zerg. So what Serral does is he takes offensive bases, he puts Nidus Worms behind it, because it's very hard to defend them usually. And it also ends up being a bait very often for Zerg, where you take an offensive base because you want to mine it. Then you lose some mining time because you transfer drones over because you want to mine it faster. And it's very important to do so, because if you don't mine it, it's kind of useless. And then the Terran just comes here with a couple of medevacs. Let's say he has some units attacking here, and then he comes here with 3 medevacs. You're not in position, you will lose the hatchery plus all of the drones. But what Serral started implementing is this Nidus behind the hatchery. Well, now he's still losing every single drone. So that was kind of pointless, but you see the idea behind it. It is very easy to lose all of your stuff there, because you can't just have your entire army parked over here. Because then you would just sacrifice all of these bases, right? So you kind of want to have your army split up and play it that way. And once again, that base will go down. But yeah, that's what the Nidus is here for. An easier way to hold this type of stuff, to also split up your units, is leaving lurkers there. But Serral does not want to spend his gas on lurkers just now. Going lurkers in general against someone who goes straight to late game always feels a bit odd, because they tend to just not be able to trade at all. This is a 6 spot from the Liberator. He already has range, yeah. Doesn't even look that far, but apparently it is. Yeah, he absolutely cannot hit that one whatsoever. And he once again loses that base. So things are going really well for Oliveira. He's already up 7k resources lost. He keeps denying the fresh bases. If he keeps trading like that, it's good enough for Oliveira. So the game plan of the Terran should be something like, okay, I try to not let him mine from here. I will expand here. And eventually, I will take this very, very late, once everything else is mined out. So the focus just needs to be, I get a 6 base at some point in the near future, while denying the Zerg from mining more than half the map. That's all he needs to do. Like, putting tanks here and Liberators, keep Serral from mining this base entirely. If he mines it a little bit, it's not that bad. It's obviously minerals that he gets and you will not get in the future. But usually that's fine for Terran, because Terran trades more effective than Zerg. So as we've established now, this is not a good position for Zerg to be in. The Terran has his dream setup. He has planetaries everywhere. He has 4 planetaries overall. He already has how many orbitals? 7. He has so many different buildings, it's hard to find at this point. And he already started to trade very effectively, even though Serral has done nothing aggressive, which is usually where Zerg trades cost ineffectively. He's mining from this base, and you can see that he transferred drones from the very safe bases that he will always get to mine towards the forward bases. Also staying still at around 80 workers. I think we're going to change the replay overlay after this. It's looking worse and worse for Serral. I would say this position is... If you put any other Zerg there... I would say it's 30% max at this point for Zerg. Because the game plan for Terran is just so much easier to execute. You just deny the Zerg from mining this left base while expanding towards the right. That's all you have to do in order to win the game. There's nothing more. You won't ever need to attack. Eventually you will be able to turtle forward once you have mined out your side of the map. And that really should favor Terran. And even though this is Serral playing, I still would favor Terran in this position. That's how good it is for Terran, I think. If I put myself there against Oliveira, I would give myself maybe 10%. That was a good pick-off. He sees, okay, his opponent is expanding more towards the right side, so he probably doesn't have that much on the left. Breaking it once is huge, because now he needs to rebuild the walls there, and he needs to reposition some of his siege tanks. But yeah, he's just trying to starve Oliveira. Already 8k resource loss behind now. Trying to save some of his drones. And he's attacking here, but... I mean, it's good that he denied this base, but he's not even mining from the right side base right now. He didn't mine that fully. This is not completely mined out. It's pretty mined out, which is good, but not fully. And I think if Oliveira places correctly, he shouldn't mine out the left side base entirely as well. So now he actually started making Corruptors, which I thought was a curious decision since he already had Hydras and Vipers. But the Corruptors did really well here because Oliveira started sieging the space without any anti-air. Serral now even taking that forward base, which is pretty crazy. Now going on a lower worker count, which makes a lot of sense. At first you want to mine out as fast as possible, but at this point in the game, where it comes down to just trading cost effectively, having a bigger army will help him do just that. Gets good abducts on 2 tanks. Oliveira keeps nuking this position. A single Marauder drop as well. Once again gets 2 of the tanks. This type of stuff Serral does really well. These small interactions, he just finds them throughout the entire game. So many Zerglings here. He morphed very, very little Banelings this game, in comparison to how Zergs usually play. Because he knows they will most likely not trade that effectively. But now he kills this entire side. Where is Oliveira's army? Because this, I feel like this should just not be possible. But now that I take a look at this, it makes a little bit more sense. Okay, so he has a lot of Widow Mines here. These Liberators are not protecting this whatsoever. They should be more like here. This Planetary is completely out of position, by the way. I think there were some nerfs involved as well. And there are some tanks that are a little bit too far back. He has so many Widow Mines in completely useless locations. I think all of these could be further forward. So that's 8 Widow Mines right here. He's very Widow Mine heavy, which I don't mind at all against what Serral is doing, but they need to be positioned further forward. The Hive cluster is under attack. It's great situational awareness from Serral to realize that he can engage there with an almost pure Zergling army and deny that mining from Oliveira. His bank is quite a bit bigger than the Terran bank, but his army is a lot worse if you think about it. He has 128 Zerglings as part of his army against the mass Widow Mine Liberator composition that usually doesn't go too well for the Zerg. It's quick about upgrading. Now he's not mining from the left side base anymore. Oliveira leaving his Liberators exposed and very alone. One thing that really helps Serral in this game is that there is no sensor tower anymore forward on the left side of the map. So he can kind of rotate his units around without Oliveira having full knowledge of where the bulk of Serral's army is positioned or running towards. Now he's going very Corruptor heavy because he saw the Vikings. He already has good Corruptor upgrades as well. 2-2 with 3-3 on the way is really big. And Oliveira now... I mean, the moment Oliveira mines this, so let's look at the situation, right? This base, Serral mined a ton from it. This base, Serral did not mine entirely yet, and it will be very, very difficult for him to mine. If this is the only difference, he might maybe a couple of resources from here. If this is the only difference, Terran should always win the game. So Terran doesn't need to attack anything anymore. Terran doesn't need to deny this base. It is in fact Zerg who will need to start doing stuff very soon.
Depleted.
Because you cannot, if Oliveira mines out all of these bases, the most important ones are this base and this base. If he mines out both of those, it should be a win for Terran. Now he goes back here. How does he know he can attack here? Let's see. I want to see what makes him have these decisions. So he walked here with almost everything. He decided that quite a while ago. When did he decide to move here? I want to see if he saw. I guess he saw with the Corruptors that this was a little bit more exposed than it should be. These are the kind of decisions that make Serral win the games. Why does he move his army like this? Okay, he saw that there were no ghosts over here.
Mineral field depleted. Nuclear launch detected.
He only has 55 workers, so he has a huge army. He still has a big army on the right side as well. Now he goes in here, good micro against the Widowmines, and there's just nothing here, it's one tank. So he kills this base again, and now he goes back with everything. Oliveira felt the need to push. I don't think he needed to push here. Well, this is hard to know. I will fully analyze this once more after this is all over, because for now we're just looking at it from Serral's POV, but I'm gonna factor into account what Oliveira must be thinking at this point as well. Because yeah, attacking here is for sure not the right call. It doesn't really matter what he thinks. This was always the wrong call. Serral goes in, hits parasitic bombs. There was just Ghost here. All of these Widowmines and tanks are just not in the fight. And the 3-2 Corruptors against the 3-3 Vikings, together with the parasitic bombs, will just always clear it up. And at this point, it's game over. There's not much Oliveira can do, I think. This was too bad. And do you guys remember when I 15 in-game minutes ago, Serral was already behind 8k resources lost? Now he's only down 7k resources lost. He has traded effectively for the last 10 minutes, which no other Zerg manages to do. That is... I want to pick apart a little bit more why that happened. We need to understand exactly what the reason is for this shift in efficiency. And now he fully engages, the Corruptors are not even here. But there's just not enough on the ground for Oliveira, and Serral can still remax once or twice fully. No detection. Let's see what he remaxes on. Makes a couple of ultras, curiously enough. He has a lot of gas left over, so I think eventually we'll want to add in some infestors. But I think he just smells blood in the water and wants to go right now. GG is called, and Serral takes it, and the music stops. Okay, so I think the most important part was when he attacked the left side. It was two different attacks that really worked well. The first time he broke this was so big because there was no planetary. I wish this was a second planetary. Maybe a little bit further forward even. But what made Serral realize that he can attack there, and what... And then we tried to keep up with how exactly did it happen that Oliveira kept not being able to hold this position. Because it's easy to look at it and just say, okay, he missplit his army. But we want to see what even prompted Serral to attack here. So you saw this. This is not attackable, right? There's no way in hell you're ever attacking into this. There's 4 tanks here, 1 million Widowmines, some Liberators, Ghost, and Buildings. So it is obvious that you don't attack into this. This is also not that important of a position. If he was to clear this, that would be nice, because it makes taking this harder for Terran. But killing this will enable him to mine from this position, so... I understand that he wants to do it. He uses some Borrowed Infestors, but Borrowed Infestors are not very good against Terrans that camp there and do nothing. So I think now it happens. He keeps some supply here in order to defend this base. Oliveira scans that the Vipers are here even. And he just stays in position. with most of his army here. And now he goes. Okay, what prompted this? I really want to know. Because this to me also seems like something where you usually don't want to attack. Obviously this looks even worse, but he could just have some of these Widow Mines here as well, right? Look at how many Widow Mines are just standing around doing nothing. This tank... In what universe will this tank ever be useful in this Widow Mine? What is this tank? Oh my god, he's playing... These guys are plan T tanks. If the first 10 plans fail, they're still in position. I don't think T is the 11th letter in the alphabet, I think it's a little bit later, but... You know what I'm getting at. Okay, so Serral is in position here. He just killed some Liberators, and now he just wants to go for it. I don't know, I really don't know how he knew there was not enough AoE here. This tank is useless, this tank is useless, this tank is useless, these Widow Mines do nothing. Widow Mine... I mean, yeah, he just, he's lacking AoE here.
Mineral field depleted.
Because the ghosts just need to run. It's really not even that many units. The ghost could have re-engaged faster as well. Did this tank get to shoot? That's huge. I cannot believe he has a tank here and here. Just in case the first 5 lines of defense fail, he can defend a run by. Over here. The wife of these tank drivers are not scared at all because they know, okay. This is just an alibi. This type of work. They're never gonna die ever. Now he pushes over here. It's possible that Oliveira thinks at this map you need to disable this base, but I really don't think you need to keep Zerg from mining from this base. You just keep them from mining from this base. It makes the map so much simpler because you just sit here, and the Zerg needs to run into through these chokes if they want to kill this base. This is usually the most exposed base. The hardest base to take is the 6th base. This base shouldn't really be that hard to defend. And now he loses the position fully. Like this was... I know he's gonna lose the game 10 minutes from now. And he was still in an okay position, but this was what enabled all of the rest. He just never split units here again. He had way too much over here. He focused so much on denying this little bit of mining that he forfeited this strategic position. And this position is just so valuable. He just hasn't mined from it. Not even the mineral patches that are not high... Like, they don't start with 1,800 resources. Even 900 mineral patches are not mined out yet. And now he starts moving towards this side of the map. With some Liberators as well. And there's still so much here. Serral could never engage. Actually, no, he can't. Because this is completely open, actually. It's so funny. I don't know how he does it, but he finds these... It's as if he would see the entire map and sees, okay, this is where the Terran doesn't have enough. Since if you ever play Zerg in these scenarios, you know the feeling that it seems so easy, you know, I can look at this, okay, there's no hole here, there's no hole here in defense. Maybe now you can go around and try to strike here, kill this planetary. You definitely cannot go here. But as a Zerg player, you can try to send in changelings and have a guess at how much exactly there is. But if you miss some Widow Mines, you miss some tanks, you engage in and you already lost half your army. You can't just run back out. Your units are very fast, but you don't have infinite vision range. So the issue is you engage into, let's say, a spot like this. By the time you're here and you realize, okay, there's too much at the back. It's impossible for me. This will be a terrible fight. If you start running backwards now instead of committing all your units in, most of the time it will be even worse because then you run out and you don't really kill anything. So it's a very all or nothing approach if you are navigating a Ling Bane based army, since it's melee units and you don't have infinite vision. And Serral just seems to find these He always seems to find the exposed side. We saw that these liberators were a little bit too far forward. If he takes this. I would have loved to see the game continue without Oliveira attacking, because the attack obviously was unnecessary and not good, but it was... We'll have a look at how unnecessary it was exactly, or if he needed to do something. Yeah, so this is what prompted the attack. He saw that parts of Serral's army were over here, so he attacks on this side of the map. There is no AoE. Really, the biggest mistake that Oliveira made was all of these units. Finally, this tank went somewhere else, and this one as well, but all of these Widow Mines that are over here, as well as these siege tanks, are too far back. I don't know how this siege tank is ever gonna get to fire, you know? If all of this is here, I think this engagement also goes a lot better. But let's answer the question of, does Oliveira actually need to engage? Because he doesn't have this base, and I think the best course of action would for sure be to just... You can try to kill this and then go back, if you want to. You have infinite scans, so you can see if your opponent's out of position. This is never the play, fighting on creep with clumped up liberators against Lingbane Corruptor Viper. This is just never the play, because he has no AoE here. And then just try to mine this out first, maybe, and then take this and see if it's enough, because Serral is not... He doesn't have that much left to mine. Yeah. He doesn't have that much left to mine overall. I think it might actually... It might still be Serral favorite. So probably for Serral, the game plan then is to keep doing this and keep playing a split up game and try to commit eventually before Terran gets to mine this while you mine out your side of the map. That is probably the game plan from Serral. But the game plan from Oliveira, I still think at this point, is first you mine this out, then you consolidate your army, you go with everything together, you take this and try to deny the rest of this, because there will still be some minerals left over here. And if you have your entire army together, it becomes very, very difficult for Zerg to trade. Very difficult. Serral eventually would be stuck on a lot of gas, so he would need to go Brutal Infestor almost always at the end, because that's the only way he's ever going to beat a fully maxed out army. And then I do like Oliveira's unit composition with the Viking Liberator a lot more. But it's crazy, the small differences that end up deciding games like this. It really was just these tanks not having moved them forward. Let's say he has the tank here and 2 extra Widow Mines here. I don't think Serral breaks his planetary all of a sudden. The ghosts get to shoot instead of just running the entire time, and the entire game looks different. I understand that he has a lot of stuff here because this is the freshest base. He really wants to defend this one. But it's probably too much. These tanks, these Widow Mines, all of that. Like this right here was really probably the most important fight, I would say, in this game. And then he keeps getting good trades, so it seems stupid to single out that one fight, but this is... ever since he never got the planetary back up here, and he never got to reposition his units. It was definitely also a big mistake from Oliveira to not instantly fortify this position again. After he lost his defenses there, you need to zoom around. Obviously, this is a lot easier for me to do because I'm zoomed out, but let's say I'm in Oliveira's vision. You need to go like this, unsiege all your tanks, go here, then unsiege some of these mines, go here, split them up, and borrow them, get like 2 liberators over, move the ghosts here. You see that the army is here, right? Let's look at it from Oliveira's point of view. He loses it again, and at this point it actually starts becoming very hard. So, yeah. I think this is... I'm talking so much about the game. I'm talking longer about the one game than the actual game length is. I'm not sure if you guys like this type of content. You guys can let me know in the comments. This is just me learning myself. This is how I analyze the replays myself. So I'm just letting you go through the thought process that I have while also trying to explain some stuff that might be obvious to me but might not be obvious to everyone else. But yeah, figuring out why is it that Serral wins, right? He has a very good game plan. He doesn't want to attack. He knows his opponent gets to camp straight from the start. He doesn't build any unnecessary units. He didn't make too many banings. He didn't go into ultras first, so he wouldn't have to have an army that he needs to throw away. He went straight to 90 drones and stayed there. And he prioritizes mining from his opponent's side of the map. So he tries to stay on 90 drones while being defensive for the longest time, while trying to mine his opponent's side. So trying to steal as many resources as possible. Then once he has these spaces saturated, once he has a big bank going, he starts going a little bit lower on drones. He doesn't replenish the drones that he loses as he's taking these exposed bases. He splits up his army, and then he starts taking engagements wherever his opponent is not completely in position or is not completely prepared. Until then, he didn't really do anything offensively. So he waits until his opponent has 6 bases, and the game becomes a little bit more chaotic in terms of how you split up, that he actually starts attacking. And in the end, it's just, I try to deny the 7th base of my opponent. That's pretty much what he's doing, while also trying to mine bases as offensively as possible. And that sounds very simple, but actually trading cost effective for like minute 18 to minute 29 against Terran is almost impossible for any Zerg not named Serral. Like Dark's very good at trading off of these units. But other than that, I can't really think of many players who can be cost effective like that. It's very difficult, and Oliveira is very good. So yeah, props to Serral for this one. I thought about doing a video that talking about what actually sets Serral apart from other players. So if you are interested in that, you can let me know as well. I have a lot of ideas for YouTube now that the season is almost over. Especially once the qualifiers for the World Championship have concluded, I will focus a lot more on my YouTube. I have some great ideas for game shows as well. If you want to join game shows, you can join my Discord. My Discord is not the most active, but I will ask in there if anyone wants to participate in YouTube shows. You could even win some money. So if you're interested in that, make sure to join my Discord. I will probably put it in the comments if I don't forget. Otherwise, go on my Twitch. I didn't really plan on plugging my Twitch here, but go on my Twitch and just type ! Discord in chat and you'll get an invite to my Discord server. But yeah, that was it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Honestly, I wanted to analyze even more games, but the video would just be too long. So I guess it's just one game for today. Thank you for watching, and see you.